9/11 train is abuzz as Flushing plays host not only to tennis, but September baseball. Pennant implications abound. MLB on Fox is proud to present the defending National League champion Philadelphia Phillies and the host New York Mets. It's the Phillies on top of the pack in the National League East by a game over Atlanta. Atlanta holds the busy wild card, an honor that could go to any of the three National League divisions. With that, we welcome you inside the broadcast booth at Citi Field. Matt Vasgersian alongside Tim McCarver. 8 weeks ago, Tim, the Phillies were looking up at the pack in the National League East. They hold division honors at this point. 20 left for the Phillies, including the middle in this series with a struggling Mets team. Given all that, important games for the Phillies here down the finish.
I think, as every baseball fan knows, baseball Septembers have been littered with losing teams knocking contenders out of the playoffs, out of postseason play. And the one thing that's the most difficult thing for a manager is to keep his team playing hard and keep his team looking at the other team as though they were all contenders. And nobody is better at that than Charlie Manuel.
Phillies have made a great run late in the season as per usual. As we mentioned, 20 games left for the Fightin' Phils, not only in a race with the Atlanta Braves for the National League East, but the Phils are in a fight for wild card honors with San Diego and San Francisco as well. We'll have updates from the West and play-by-play from Citi Field. Starting lineups in the opening pitch. Phillies and Mets are coming up next. For baseball in Flushing, 78 degrees and clear, a gorgeous day, and a nice moment moments ago, after a moment of silence in honor of the memory of those lost 9 years ago during the 9/11 attacks. Representatives from New York City fire, police, sanitation, and first responder units threw out a group ceremonial first pitch this afternoon. And this afternoon's game is brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of the first inning. The beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, clean finish. Budweiser, it's what we do. Let's get you started by taking a look at Charlie Manuel's visiting Philadelphia Phillies. The Taco Bell Phillies starting lineup looks like this against Mike Pelfrey today. The switch-hitting all-star center fielder Shane Victorino leads it off. Placido Polanco and Chase Utley follow in the first. Plenty of thump in the middle with Ryan Howard, Jason Worth, and Raul Ibanez. Brian Schneider will give Carlos Ruiz a blow today. Wilson Valdez for the injured Jimmy Rollins, and Kyle Kendrick round things out for the Phillies. On the mound for New York, 26-year-old right-hander Mike Pelfrey making his 29th start of the season, coming off a rough one last time around Monday in our nation's capital.
Tough at home versus the Phillies, however. In 6 decisions, he's 4-2, and he has struggled the last 2 months. It's interesting, a low ball pitcher will be facing a lot of left-handed low ball hitters for the Phillies.
Well, Mike Pelfrey with some unusual splits to pay attention to this afternoon as Shane Victorino leads off to his anticipated chorus of boos in New York. It's one of those compliments paid to Phillies that have given Mets hassles over the last number of years, as Mike Pelfrey's afternoon is underway with strike one. Well, Jerry Manuel trying to finish strong, and certainly each manager, Tim, as we mentioned when we went on the air a moment ago, playing with very different goals in mind these final weeks of the season. Yeah,
Charlie Manuel, a game in front of the Atlanta Braves. The Braves play later on tonight. And we talked about it in the opening about how Charlie Manuel can help his team keep that foot on the accelerator in September.
And a 2-2 strike call now to Shane Victorino.
Pardon me, Matt. Actually, the Braves are playing the Cardinals right now on Fox, not later on this evening.
We'll have updates from Atlanta and from the West as well, where a good one started between the Giants and Padres. One gone to start us today. Let's take a look at this afternoon's 4 keys to the game, Tim.
2 vastly different ball clubs. For the Phillies, keep your collective feet on the accelerator. And for the New York Mets, questions abound. We'll try to answer some of those today, or help answer them. How in the world do you improve on another dreadful season, 4 in a row for the Phillies, or for the Mets?
One gone now for Placido Polanco, who takes strike one. Polanco checking in at .304, puts him in the top 10 in National League batting average. He has been particularly difficult to handle in the afternoon, where only Troy Tulowitzki of the Red Hot Rockies has had more success in the senior circuit. Chase Utley waiting next for Philadelphia. That's into the right field corner, and a foul ball.
Just foul.
Not by much.
Thought initially that ball was going to curve foul, and I'll tell you, you could make a case that that ball may have hit the outside of the chalk. If you throw up any chalk, it's a fair ball. That was very, very close.
Time for our sprint a player of firsts, and we talk about Placido Polanco being in the top 10 in National League batting average. He is among the more difficult players to strike out. Very good with 2 strikes. And Tim, on cue, here comes Charlie Manuel out to discuss whether that was a fair or foul ball with Jim Wolf at first base.
Yeah, I think Charlie's got a very valid argument, because if any of the ball touches any of the line, it's a fair ball. And in my view, that ball hit chalk. And the reason Charlie came out there, and that's clear right there. I don't know how much clearer it can be. Wow.
And I think Charlie got a look at that probably, and word got to him from the clubhouse that that ball landed exactly where you described it, Tim, and that's why his entrance to the field might have been a bit delayed.
Yeah.
We resume as Pelfrey goes back to work on Polanco.
That's not considered, by the way, that is not considered a boundary call. The boundary call is home runs, but I think that should be added to the boundary. There are a lot of people who are in favor of instant replay. I am not.
It's rolled out to shortstop. Jose Reyes back out there after the oblique strain sidelined him last week, and they get Polanco given the second opportunity. There were two gone.
I guess if you extended the lines to boundary calls last year, that ball hit by Joe Mauer of the Minnesota Twins against the Yankees would have been obviously a fair ball. It was a fair ball, and a ball like that would have been a fair ball because that was a fair ball also.
Two gone here at the top of the first, and that'll bring in Chase Utley. The five-time All-Star with good career success against Mike Pelfrey, and he has started with a strike on the outside corner. Well, I thought we'd usually get a little farther into the game, Tim, before we get into our prolonged discussion on the virtues of instant replay.
Yeah.
But we had cause to do it just an at-bat into the afternoon.
After one out.
1 ball and 1 strike to Utley. And I guess if the 2010 season were as much known for its pitching performance this year, it's also been marked by a number of controversial calls, including a home plate umpire rejecting a fan, as happened earlier this week in Milwaukee. A number of controversial moments that have affected borderline historical performances. Speaking of the Armando Galarraga near perfect game, it's been a discussion point this year.
The most glaring was the Galarraga call by Jim Joyce at first base. That should have been the 27th out, but it was not.
Still a ball and 2 strikes here on Chase Utley. You saw Ryan Howard waiting next. Charlie Manuel has the big meaty part of his lineup heating up on cue. You just saw a split on Utley's last month plus, and the same thing can apply to Ryan Howard. He has gotten blistering red hot here down the stretch. The 1-2 to Utley fouled in the other direction. So for the Phillies, who spent the better part of the season looking up at a Braves team that held on to first place for 99 days. If you'd gone to sleep last year and just risen out of your slumber here in the middle of September, you'd think that it's been easy breezy for Philadelphia. Has not been the case. This Phillies team has had to overcome its share of adversity to get back to the top of the NL East.
Part of that adversity, Jamie Moyer, the ageless left-hander on the disabled list, and many others. I mean, because the Phillies are where they are, that's why I think Charlie Manuel should be the manager of the year for the Phillies. Other consideration: Bud Black, Dusty Baker of Cincinnati, Bruce Bochy of the Giants, Bobby Cox, of course. But for me, it's Charlie Manuel.
His Phillies go away in 3-up, 3-down fashion to start the afternoon. Half inning gone. Phillies 0, Mets coming to bat. Jose Reyes. Jose Feliciano in right field batting second. Angel Pagan's had a breakout season. He bats number 3. Wright, Davis, and Tolley 4 through 6. Lucas Duda, the outstanding young rookie prospect, is in left field batting number 7. Luis Hernandez and Mike Pelfrey round things out for New York. Well, Kyle Kendrick out there to make his 28th starting assignment of the season. Last time around for Kyle against Milwaukee, that is, was greeted rudely in the first inning and never recovered. Ended up with a 6-2 loss against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Tough time against left-handed batters, and the reason he can't really get inside. We'll talk more about that. However, he is 9-8 as a starter, and that's as a 5th starter. Not too bad, but he does have problems with left-handers. That's why Jerry Manuel has 7 of the 8 position players today as left-handed batters.
Jose Reyes, one of those batting from the left side against Kendrick this afternoon, the switch-hitting 3-time All-Star who came back to play yesterday. He had been sidelined by an oblique injury, part of what has been an injury-filled campaign for Jose Reyes, who's now looking at a 1-1 count to begin the home first. You know, this time of day, this time of season, Tim, we just got to look at how difficult it can be to play at Citi Field. The shadows playing a major role early on this afternoon.
Back in 1955, I believe it was, when Billy Lowe's lost a ground ball. It was a high chopping ground ball in the sun. People thought that was kind of silly, but you can see how you can lose a ground ball if it bounces high enough. You can see how you can lose it in the sun.
Wilson Valdez has this ground ball chance, and there's one gone for Kyle Kendrick. Marty Foster calling balls and strikes this afternoon. Gary Cedarstrom, the crew chief at second base. Jim Wolf and Fielding Culbreth make out the rest of the arbiters this afternoon. So one gone now for Jose Feliciano. Jesus at 260 with 2 runs batted in. One of the September call-ups for the Mets. This is not the Mets group that certainly fans thought would be out there in the month of September. New York's fortunes have slipped since the All-Star break, and it's really turned this into a casting call, if you will, Tim, for 2011 and beyond.
Back on July 15th, the New York Mets were actually a half a game ahead of the Philadelphia Phillies. Since that date, July 15th, they've lost 13 games in the standings against the Phils.
A ball and a strike to Feliciano, who's been up and down with the big league club for now 4 times in 2010. He's got himself a base hit.
Most left-handed hitters are low ball hitters, and low ball hitters have slower bats than high ball hitters. It takes a much quicker bat and a much quicker set of hands to pull a ball than it does on a pitch like this. So with left-handed batters, you have to jam more, it would stand to reason, than guys who handle the ball up with quick hands. And that's why left-handers have problems, or I beg your pardon, that Kyle Kendrick has problems with left-handed batters because he can't come inside to them. He can't jam the left-handed batters, and that's what you have to do to low ball hitters.
It's 0-1 to the switch-hitting Angel Pagan batting from the left side. Jesus Feliciano aboard with 1 gone, and Pagan fouls that away. Time for another sprint player first, and Angel Pagan, with his 33 stolen bases, is the first Mets outfielder with 30 or more since Roger Cedeno in 1999. And boy, does that speedy Roger Cedeno, Ricky Henderson stolen base total of 1999 seem like it was such a long time ago here.
Forever ago.
Popped in the infield for Placido Polanco. Steady as they come in the infield, and there are 2 away. You might have noticed one of the things that strikes you visually looking out there today, Tim, the fact that both the Phillies and Mets are wearing an alternate cap Major League Baseball and the 30 clubs are joining the White House in observing September 11, 2010 as a National Day of Service and Remembrance. And as such, players around the league are wearing special Stars and Stripes logoed caps this afternoon.
Today's ceremony is so touching when you consider that a lot of these players in uniform today when they're mid-teens 9 years ago.
Here's David Wright, who was just minor league property back in September of 1999. David with good numbers at the start of play this afternoon. He has certainly held up his end of the bargain. Likely to finish with a triple-digit run batted in total again this year. 2 balls and no strikes to David Wright. 92 driven home, and that's a top 5 total in the National League. And when you consider the limited opportunities for an offensively challenged Mets team, I think Wright's numbers are even more impressive. To 3-0 now.
I think David should be given the green light here. Strikeouts has been a problem. 144 Ks this year. That's 3 shy of the Mets record.
And Kendrick loses him on 4 pitches. So a 1-out single. And then with 2 out, David Wright draws the walk. And now an opportunity for the left-handed hitting rookie first baseman Ike Davis. Davis trying to finish strong. He has so far enjoyed a fine month of September. 12 for 30 early in his first big league September month. And a chance to get the Mets on the scoreboard early against Kyle Kendrick. Alongside as he takes a look at Feliciano, and Davis lines it into right field. That's a fair ball. Feliciano scores easily. They'll hold David Wright at third, and Ike Davis has doubled home the first run of the afternoon. It's 1-0 Mets.
Think about the last 5 pitches, if you will. 4 straight balls to David Wright. And now on the first pitch, Ike Davis swinging, knowing that Kendrick's going to try to find the fat part of the plate. He does. Davis does. Mets take the lead.
So now another left-handed hitter, Josh Thole, has a chance to make it an even more productive first inning against Kyle Kendrick. You know, to your point earlier, Tim, talking about Kendrick struggling against left-handed batters, and certainly Jerry Manuel paying attention to the numbers, the difference is quite pronounced. Lefties hitting .323 against Kendrick, right-handers .254. And we've seen those splits play a role early today. The Mets will settle with 1. They are, however, on the board early. Then after an inning at Citi Field, New York on top. 1-0 Mets. by Taco Bell, think outside the bun. By Sprint, the Now Network. And by Ford, Drive One. A gorgeous afternoon at Central Park. And here in Flushing, back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian. The Mets with an early 1-0 lead here at home, where they have been a lot better club than away from Citi Field this year. We'll explore these and other quirks as we continue today. Big Ryan Howard will lead things off for the defending National League champs. Howard, Worth, and Ibanez against Mike Pelfrey in the second.
Matt, the biggest reason the Mets are a better club here is they can pitch here. They're 3.11 earned run average, the best earned run average in the National League, and with their paltry record, you'd think that is quite a surprise, and it is. It was to me.
Mike Pelfrey's numbers really personify that difference. He has been markedly better here at home, and ERA almost double what it is on the road this year. Here's the 2-0 home to Ryan Howard, right into the shift.
There's the shift that Matt was talking about. And this line drive normally would have been a base hit, one would think. So the second baseman, instead of if Fernandez were to have made that catch playing regularly, he would have had to have jumped for it. And by playing in shallow right, he went down for it.
There's Jason Worth now, 4 in a row, retired by Mike Pelfrey to start his afternoon. Whether or not to shift against a hitter like Ryan Howard is the subject of a lot of debate before every series in the opposing clubhouse. By and large, teams in the NL East, those that have to deal with him 18, 19 times a season, choose to play him exactly as the Mets did, and you saw it work for New York a moment ago. Worth takes the strike, and it's a ball and 2 strikes to him now. But, you know, you live by the shift and you die by it. Ryan Howard is aware that he is schemed that way. And, you know, as much as he is a pull hitter, he'll try to slap one the other way to kind of smile at it. And Jason Worth is going to beat that out. Some missed execution on the right side of the infield for the Mets, and the Phillies have their first base runner of the day.
Let's see how it's going to be scored. The throw is behind Pelfrey from Ike Davis. If there is an error given, I would think it would be on the throw, but that's a play that you go over in spring training time and time again.
So they do hang the error on Ike Davis, and that puts a base runner aboard for Raul Ibanez.
Yeah, I think that's a play that's got to be made. Concerning the shift, I think it plays with the minds of the hitters against the shift more than it plays into the numbers that it's the right thing to do. I think Joe Madden, the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, perhaps employs the shift more against more hitters in the American League than any other manager, and that's the reason he does it. Of course, that's a straight up play defensively. The Tampa Bay Rays, speaking of the Rays, thumping Toronto 13-1 today.
Yeah, not a lot of shifting needed in that one this afternoon. All over Ricky Romero early on.
Yeah, they've shifted some numbers around. In fact, they've shifted into second place, only a game behind the Yankees, who lost in 13 last night to Texas.
So now the Yankees lead atop the AL East is but a game as New York plays in Arlington again later on tonight. They've got A.J. Burnett against Tommy Hunter later today. What terrific races, Tim.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the two great races in the National League in the East and the West. Wild card couldn't be any tighter. AL East is tight. AL Central is tight as Ibanez fouls back the 2-0 pitch. So look at the AL East current through Tampa Bay's rather lopsided victory today in Toronto. New York at 87 and 54, and with starting rotation questions being discussed with the Yankees, the likes of which we haven't heard in some years. Nothing is for sure yet. 3-1 to Ibanez now. Ex-Met Brian Schneider waiting on deck for Philadelphia. Runner goes, and Ward's going to have to head back to first base as this one's popped up into shallow left center. Reyes can't make the catch. Pagan can't pick up to get Worth at second. Boy, the second straight misplayed ball by a Met, and the Phillies have runners aboard.
I think somebody's got to call him off. I think Pagan's got to call Reyes off. That is a very difficult play, but it's very, very good base running by Jason Worth. Not going quite back to first base and being in a position where he can go to second when the ball is dropped. But I think Pagan's got to call off Reyes in that situation. Very difficult.
They will credit Raul Ibanez with a base hit, and the Phillies have runners at first and second now with one gone for the left-handed hitting catcher Brian Schneider.
What you have seen the last two plays for the Mets have not been the exception this year. It's been the rule.
Schneider sends a one-hopper to Davis. To Reyes for one. No damage done. Couple of misplayed balls, not to worry behind Big Mike Pelfrey as he's able to hang a 0 in the top of the second. We're through an inning and a half. It's 1-0 New York. Bottom of the first, 2-out bases loaded. Jake Westbrook walks, Nate McLeod, Martin Brown scores at Lincoln. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Gillette is sponsored by Budweiser with full flavor and a crisp, clean finish. It's what we do. Well, Kyle Kendrick thought he had a rally brewing on his behalf, but a double play ball abbreviated what looked like an opportunity for Philadelphia. Why not come to the ballpark and get some light reading in? Lucas Duda leads things off in the New York second. And on the first pitch, he sends a couple of hops out to Ryan Howard. Time for a DirecTV game break. DirecTV, the only way to watch every big league game in HD. It's the third of 4 between St. Louis and Atlanta. Bases loaded in the bottom of the first. Nate McLeod draws a bases loaded walk. So in the bottom of the first, 2 gone, bases loaded. Jake Westbrook gets Alex Gonzalez swinging. It's a 1-0 score early on. Well, everybody had St. Louis dead and buried, Tim, a couple of weeks ago, but their deficit to the Cardinals and in the wild card might be more manageable than people think. 6 back in the division and 6.5 in the wild card.
Yeah, they've got a leapfrog over 3 teams in the wild card. We did the Cardinals a couple of weeks ago, and things haven't changed too much. Time is against the Cardinals right now.
Luis Hernandez is jammed as Chase Utley gets there for the second out of the inning.
That's the type of pitch I was talking about in the first inning, that you have to throw left-handed low ball hitters. And once again, to explain that, as we look at San Francisco and Atlanta in the wild card, San Francisco a game back, Colorado, who has won 8 straight, and then the Cardinals. So the Cardinals have to leapfrog over 3 teams to win the wild card. But a low ball hitter has a slower bat than a high ball hitter. So therefore, with the slow bat, you have to pitch him inside. And that's the one thing that Kendrick has not been able to do all year, is pitch left-handed hitters inside to jam them.
A strike to Mike Pelfrey, batting with 2 gone and the bases empty here in the second. Two-seamer comes back to catch the corner, and it's 0-2 to Pelfrey now. Top of the order, Jose Reyes waiting on deck. 1-0 New York. Mets get a run in their half of the first this afternoon. And a swing and a miss, and Mike Pelfrey disposes of the Mets. Check that. Kyle Kendrick disposes of the Mets in order. Looks like it's about to rain in Times Square. Duck for cover. We'll return to New York after a word. And we welcome you back to New York. Mike Pelfrey pitching with a 1-0 lead as we start the third. The 8, 9, and top of the order hitters for Charlie Manuel's Phillies: Wilson Valdez, Kyle Kendrick, and Shane Victorino. Well, Wilson Valdez has seen plenty of action this year.
72 starts. Very, very unusual.
And what with all the injuries that the Phillies had sustained earlier this year, Tim, Valdez out there currently for Jimmy Rollins, who's missing his 61st start of the year today, by the way. One would guess that the Phillies would be vulnerable if you were just to look at the medical reports you might not have the Phillies in first place in the NL East today.
17 players off their 25-man roster have at one time or another been on the disabled list this year. Rollins with a tight hamstring. Now he was on the DL because of a pulled calf muscle. That to me is why Charlie Manuel should be the manager of the year. That to have the Phillies in first place at this time, here it is September 11th. I mean, it's just remarkable. I think he's done his best job ever of a lot of good years as manager of the Phillies.
Still 2 balls and 2 strikes on Wilson Valdez. And no disrespect to the role players on the roster, but the injuries sustained by the Phillies. You know, Chase Utley gone for a prolonged period of time. Jimmy Rollins has missed most of the season. Ryan Howard has spent time on the DL. Placido Polanco, Shane Victorino. We're talking about a lot of their all-star firepower that's been missing this year.
Yep. Brian Schneider on the disabled list, one of their catchers.
Wilson Valdez has worked it full to 3-2, and he wants a moment to think about it.
You know, they started the season without a closer. Brad Lidge was a problem. Ryan Madson's been on the DL. J.C. Romero's been on the DL. They've lost probably 40% of their bullpen at one time or another. There's J-Roll.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Wilson Valdez, leading things off in the visitors' third. Into the opposite field, Feliciano in the tough sun field makes the catch. Well, if you were to make a case for Charlie Manuel being manager of the year in the senior circuit, how about the job Terry Francona has done in the American League? He, too, has had to battle through some big-time injuries to keep the Red Sox somewhat in the hunt here in the final 3 weeks of the season.
I think more than anybody in baseball, the Red Sox have battled that, but the Red Sox aren't going to end up as well off as the Phillies in all probability. Red Sox losing to Oakland last night. Kevin Cahill now 16-6, or Trevor Cahill now 15-6 with a great earned run average, shutting out the Red Sox last night, going 7 innings. So the Red Sox are understandably disappearing in the American League East.
And 9 back and running at a time is Boston. 0-2 the count here to Kyle Kendrick.
Going to be tough for Francona to be the manager of the year, but had they gotten to the postseason, certainly that would have been the case.
You know, Charlie Manuel's never going to give you any insight as to whether or not he's having fun. However,
that's really well said. That is
a called strike 3 taken by Kendrick. However, despite all the injuries, it seems like he has more fun than not this time of year as you take a look at Pelfrey locating on the outside corner again. Phillies have made a run, not just this September, Tim, but September's past for the last handful of seasons.
September has been a very, very good month for Charlie Manuel and the Phillies over the last 4 years.
Beyond that, a good second half team.
Yep.
It's not just September when they turn the screw.
Right.
Here's Shane Victorino now.
In fact, I heard about a conversation between Michael Barkan, who is the guest in Philadelphia, interviewing Charlie, and referred to Charlie as a rock star in Philadelphia. Rock star status. might be a bit of a stretch, but hey, Charlie will take it.
A 1-2-3 third for Mike Pelfrey, and it's still 1-0. The Rock Star trails. 1-0 Mets as we go to the home half of inning number 3. Jose Reyes, Jesus Feliciano, and Angel Pagan. Jesus Feliciano waiting on deck. And to 3 balls and no strikes now. Our apologies for our technical difficulty moments ago. It's the spirit of Shea Stadium. Still angry it was replaced.
Shea Stadium was the only building angry that it was replaced, or only person.
Jose Reyes with a drive to right, and that ball is gone. More so a candidate to beat you with his wheels than with his big power bat. Jose Reyes leans into his 9th of the year to lift the Mets to a 2-0 lead.
And falling behind Reyes, Kendrick continues to have problems with left-handed batters. That's the 20th earned run given up in his last 22 1/3 innings. 20th. It's almost an earned run an inning.
And a matchup that's really developing into a bad one for Kyle Kendrick. Jose Reyes has gotten the better of him the last couple of years as Jesus Feliciano has to move his feet. 2 balls and no strikes. Reyes has hit 3 of his now 9 home runs against the Phillies, and that's the 2nd time that he's gotten Kyle Kendrick. Now 8 for 18 against the Phillies right-hander. Feliciano falls behind 3-0. Feliciano in front, 3-0. Beg your pardon. And here's the 3-0 home from Kendrick. Finds the strike zone to 3-1 now. Been a real mixed bag for Kyle Kendrick against the Mets as you take a look at Angel Pagan waiting next. Full count now, 3-2. Kendrick pitched very well against the Mets. Beat him here in the middle of August. And as he loses Feliciano, that was the good. And here's some of the bad. First meeting between he and the Mets back on April 30th this year. He lost a 9-1 decision and yielded not 1, not 2, but 3 home runs to New York in the process.
2 of those home runs hit, by the way, Rod Barajas now with the Dodgers. And Jeff Francoeur now patrolling right meadow for the Texas Rangers.
Here's Angel Pagan with nobody out, a run in and a runner aboard. He picks at the first pitch and sends a fly ball to shallow left. Ibanez got a late break, but that's the first out of the inning. You know, we talked to Charlie Manuel, Tim, before the game about his postseason rotation as David Wright digs in now. And certainly in the short series, in the division series, Charlie would never tell you this publicly, but he's figuring out a way for Halladay, Oswalt, and Hamels, all of whom have been terrific, to maximize what they do best. A guy like Kyle Kendrick, Joe Blanton, their role isn't as significant in that short series, that division series. But still, having said that, you got the idea that Charlie really wants to get Kendrick right through the remainder of this regular season schedule for whatever role he's going to occupy in the postseason?
Well, several things there, Matt. The one thing Charlie hates to do is talk about the postseason before he has a berth in the postseason. There is not a manager in the major leagues that likes to talk about right now, today's game, any more than Charlie Manuel does. It's almost like getting blood out of a turnip when you're talking to Charlie about. You mentioning things about facing the Atlanta Braves. The Phillies face the Atlanta Braves 6 more times. He didn't want to talk about it. Reluctant to talk about anything other than today's game. And I think that's one of the reasons he's had such success over the years.
1 ball and 1 strike that counts at David Wright now.
I know your point, though. You want to get Kendrick to where he is valuable. Otherwise, why carry him on the roster in the postseason?
Feliciano off first, and Kendrick will check in on him. Well, for Kyle Kendrick as well, left off the postseason roster in each of the last 2 seasons. These are important appearances for him. And I'm quite sure that a guy who, for the most part, has been with the big league club all year, feels like it's they're just reward to be on that postseason roster. And I'm sure Kyle understands the numbers game being what it is. But again, all these are important starts for a young right-hander down the stretch. Feliciano has an aggressive leadoff first. And again, Kendrick behind 3-1. Jesus has stolen but 1 base in that 1 attempt in his limited time with the big leagues this year. Jose Reyes homering this inning to make it 2-0 New York. Feliciano stays put, and Wright sends a little chip shot fly ball into shallow right field. Chase Utley makes the catch, and they're going to throw to first, a double off Feliciano. So only the Jose Reyes home run in the 3rd for New York. His 9th of the year, however, has made it a 2-0 Mets lead. and by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Placido Polanco opens the visitors' fourth. Polanco, Utley, and Howard against Mike Pelfrey. Now a 2-0 Mets lead after the Jose Reyes home run. Polanco, a ground ball victim in his first try, and he'll serve that same fate here in his second plate appearance as well. Time for another DirecTV game break. A big one out in San Diego, and it's a former Giant, Yorvi Torrealba, that gets the Padres on the scoreboard first. Tim Stauffer pitched out of a bases-loaded jam earlier in the ballgame. 1-0 San Diego in the fourth. Two teams tied atop the NL West at the start of play. San Diego trying to hang on to at least a share of first, Tim. The last time they weren't holding on to first place, June 16th. There's Chase Utley now with one gone.
What a game last night, won by the Giants 1-0, where 6 pitchers toiled in a 9-inning game. That's only the third time since 1952 that there has been a 1-0 game and the winning team had as many as 6 pitchers. Odd.
It has been a pitching and defense division. Take a look at Ryan Howard on deck, and it's really a great race. One made even more interesting with the resurgent Rockies. You know, we talk about the Phillies and how well they play down the stretch. The Rockies are the hottest team in baseball right now, and they've made that West a legitimate 3-team race.
Trifecta out west.
Giants have won 8 of their last 10, but the Rockies have won 8 straight. They were 10 games out on August 27th, very much on the outside looking in, but once again, here comes Colorado. Utley's got a base hit as he yanks it past Hernandez into right. You know, the Rockies have gotten so hot, and as much as Charlie Manuel refused to play the role of soothsayer for us today, he even mentioned how hot Colorado has gotten. It's on everybody's radar. This seems to be the team that nobody wants to have anything to do with right now.
No, you don't want to face that team in the first round of the playoffs. Now, when you talk to Charlie Manuel, what he primarily wants to talk about, hitters, and the one guy that really impresses him is Cargo, and he impresses everybody. Carlos Gonzalez, the right fielder for the Colorado Rockies, who could do everything. What a player.
Well, if the Phillies would have a hot equivalent to Carlos Gonzalez, it would be this guy, Ryan Howard, whose RBI total is only 4 off that of the National League leader. 96 driven in for Howard. See how they're playing him defensively in that shift once again. Howard has homered in 3 straight as we check in on St. Louis and Atlanta, and the Braves have a 1-0 lead today for Tommy Hanson early. We're keeping our eyes on those 2 early starts, both impacting the pennant races. Earlier this afternoon, Tampa Bay bombed the Toronto Blue Jays 13-1. They're down only a game now to the Yankees in the AL East. Two balls and a strike to Ryan Howard. I guess no conversation, Tim, about how well the Phillies play in September is complete without talking about Howard spearheading the efforts. September has been his best month statistically throughout his career. Utley's going to run, and Howard sends a fly ball out to left. Duda makes the catch, and Utley's got to get back to first base.
Ryan Howard primed for another good September because that left ankle, that left sprained ankle, is not giving him the problems that it has been. Very difficult when you have a left side. If you're a left-handed hitter and there's something wrong with your left knee, left ankle, that's your push-off leg, and you try to do what most hitters try not to do, and that's rush your swing instead of waiting back. His ankle's better now. He's waiting back better, and the results are there.
Jason Worth now with the runner aboard and 2 gone. Worth reached on the error charge to Ike Davis back in the second. At first glance, when you take a look at Jason Worth's RBI total, as you look at a so far fairly clean line for Mike Pelfrey today. 66 RBIs for Jason Worth, and it might look like something is wrong with that total. Not only has Jason not had the opportunities that he's had in past years with all the injuries around him, but the injuries around him have put a lot of pressure on a guy who is the only part of this core that doesn't have a deal beyond 2010.
I was thinking that in 2 months, Jason will have a chance to find out what he's worth.
Well, and the thought is a lot, because as the right-handed glue to a left-handed dominant lineup, his value to the Phillies can't really be overestimated.
No question.
Not to mention, it's not a particularly deep free agent class.
No, that's a good point.
Ball and 2 strikes is a count to Worth with Utley aboard and 2 gone. Phillies trying to crack the scoreboard against Mike Pelfrey. The most notable free agents heading into next year, Tim, a couple of them are not likely to move. I can't see Derek Jeter going anywhere.
Nope.
Carl Crawford might be Derek Jeter's teammate next year.
Correct.
Here's the 2-2 home, and Worth sends a ground ball out to Reyes. We'll talk about that free agent list for next season as we continue. Another scoreless inning for Mike Pelfrey. Still 2-0 New York. Down 2-0. Ike Davis leads things off for New York. It'll be Davis, Tolley, and Duda, the left-handed hitting 5, 6, 7 part of the order for the Mets. Part of Ike Davis's strong month of September. Now 13 for 31 after doubling in the first today. Back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian, a couple of teams certainly playing for different goals in the month of September. Mets trying to get a look at as many young players as possible, including Josh Thole on deck. And Philadelphia trying to refine its act for another postseason run. Two balls and a strike now on Ike Davis.
Phillies trying to visit the World Series one more time to make it 3 in a row. That would be the first time that it would happen in the National League since the Cardinals did it back in 1942, 3 and 4 during the war years.
And a base hit for Ike Davis, leading things off in the fourth. You saw Roy Halladay there a moment ago, Tim. Outstanding again yesterday.
Yeah.
And the unquestioned ace of the 2010 Phillies. 18 wins for him now. The most by a Phillies pitcher since 1983, John Denny. You know, we had to look at that 2-3 different times.
Yeah.
Didn't Curt Schilling win more than 18 as a Philly? No.
Nope.
That is, in fact, right on.
In fact, John Denny won the Cy Young Award in 1983 as a member of the Phillies when he won 19 and 6 that year.
John Lieber was a 17-game winner in 2005. Schilling won 17 in 97. A strike to make it 1-1 now on Josh Thole. I don't know that the rest of the National League or anybody, even fans, can overstate what Doc Halladay, Roy Oswalt, and Cole Hamels might be capable of doing in the postseason this year. All three terrific talents, all three throwing the ball very well. Hamels in particular.
Yes, I was thinking that.
Thole serves it into the opposite field, but Ibanez is there to make the catch, one away.
You can hear those more than a few people here at Citi Field giving that ooh, 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 like the Philly fans do at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. That means that there are a lot of Philly fans in the stands. In fact, a pretty good crowd this afternoon as we look at the various Phil's fans only 100 miles south of here on the New Jersey Turnpike.
Lucas Duda sends a fly ball to center for Victorino. And there are two gone. Speaking of the postseason, catch all the action of the 2010 Major League Baseball postseason on Fox and TBS. The excitement begins October 6th with the Division Series on TBS. So with two gone now, here's Luis Hernandez. It was pointed out locally here in the New York metro area that a dominant big three does not necessarily a postseason run make. So as good as Halladay, Oswalt, and Hamels have been, the comparison was made to those great Braves teams in the 90s when the Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine triumvirate won the World Series only once. Again into left. Ibanez started in but recovers to put away Hernandez. Talk about big threes as we continue. A fine play in left puts an end to the fourth. On to the fifth. It's still 2-0 Mets. Into the fifth, and Mike Pelfrey so far has shut down what was a hot-hitting Phillies team at the start of play on a couple of base hits. He's got Raul Ibanez to open the fifth. Ibanez, Schneider, and Valdez for Philadelphia. Raul Ibanez earlier today, a base hit in his lone try. Plenty of plate appearances between these two over the years. Ibanez 6 for 23 against Pelfrey as he fouls off the 1-1 pitch. This was a hot-hitting team, Tim. And it seems that regardless of how hot the Phillies are when they get here, this ballpark goes a long way to cool them off. They've had some very sluggish offensive days and nights at Citi Field this season. One gone for Pelfrey here in the fifth. Hey, tomorrow the NFL regular season kicks off with a doubleheader on Fox, beginning with the Panthers battling the Giants at the New Meadowlands, or the Falcons and Steelers. Then some. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers taking on Kevin Kolb and the Eagles. A doubleheader coverage begins tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific with the Ford NFL Fox pregame show, brought to you by the all-new Ford Edge Drive 1. So one gone now for Brian Schneider as we continue talking about Citi Field being something of an offensive kryptonite to the Phillies this year.
Didn't score a run their first 4 games this year. They were swept by the Mets, shut out 3 times, then shut out the 4th time they played here. And then in game 5, they shut out the Mets. 5 shutouts between these two teams in the first 5 games here at Citi Field this year.
And let me ask you this. This is an opinion thing. Is it the ballpark? Is it the pitching staffs? Is it baseball in general? How much can you assign to this ballpark cooling off a lineup?
That's the ballpark, in my view. How do you account for the fact that the Mets have led the National League in earned run average at home if it's not the ballpark?
Schneider has a base hit as he dumps that in front of Feliciano.
We talked about it earlier in a game that we did, the primetime game against the Yankees that the Mets played. In my view, they should bring the fences in. This ballpark's too big. The layout's nice. I mean, this atypical, unconventional layout is nice, but it's too big. The ball does not carry well here. And I think that is among the items on the Mets wish list for the offseason. Among the many items for the Mets.
Up the middle, a great play by Hernandez to Reyes for 1, and they double off Wilson Valdez.
Wow.
A brilliantly turned 4-6-3 double play. Middle of the afternoon, still 2-0 Mets. New York striking for a run in the first, and then a solo shot by Jose Reyes in the third, making it 2-0 against Kyle Kendrick this afternoon. And his opposite number, Mike Pelfrey, opens up the home fifth. Pelfrey, Reyes, and Feliciano. Before the break, Tim, we were talking about what might be on the Mets wish list moving forward. You talked about bringing the fences in. That might start to the equation. The problems and issues are probably too vast for us to discuss as we button up an inning or two here. But where else does this team move in the future to try to reclaim its place in the division?
Well, we've talked about Charlie Manuel, the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. We have not talked about Jerry Manuel and his status as the manager of the New York Mets. He is a good man and a good manager. And there, Omar Minaya, also a good man. In my view, they will not be back. And a lot of other views here in New York City. I think with the pressure, with the team having as bad a year as they have had over the last 3 years, the fourth bad year in a row, I think the Mets have to sell something to their fan base. And in my view, the most optimistic thing that the Mets can sell to their fan base is Bobby Valentine. He's the only manager who has brought hope to this franchise since the Mets won the World Series back in 1986 and were in the World Series when Valentine was the manager in 2000. They lost in 5 games to the Yankees.
Jose Reyes with a base runner. Mike Pelfrey singles to open the inning.
I mean, to me, he gives this franchise hope. Otherwise, how are you gonna sell your season tickets this winter?
Well, Bobby Valentine unsuccessfully courted by the Florida Marlins earlier this year. I think everybody in the baseball community had him signing that deal. Those discussions broke off, and Bobby V is a free agent to date.
Yeah, we talked about the free agents in a couple of months as far as players are concerned.
On the ground for Chase Utley. They'll go to get the lead runner at second, and Reyes is aboard on a fielder's choice.
Good play by Utley, realizing the pitcher was running. There, he also had to hold up, and Utley saw that and made sure of one. The Wilpons, the owners, Jeff Wilpon, I guess the COO right now, Fred Wilpon, the chairman, they did not part company with Bobby Valentine on good terms. However, you're running a business here. And if you're running a business and you're talking about paying fans, you've got to give the paying fans the one guy that can give this organization a lift, in my view. And that's Bobby Valentine. To me, it's a clear-cut deal. And Valentine's negotiating power goes up with every game the Mets lose here in September. In my view, again.
A ball and no strikes to Jesus Feliciano as Kendrick pays attention to Reyes at first. And I'm sure there are many people watching us today, Tim, paying attention to what you say. Bobby Valentine, the third winningest manager in Mets franchise history, and still very popular among the fan base.
That's right. I think more than anything else, forget the popularity. You can't forget the popularity because he is obviously very popular with the fan base. But more than anything else, he gives the Mets hope. A new manager from somewhere else is not going to do that. I think Valentine would be as strong as Whitey Herzog was after he managed the St. Louis Cardinals in 1982 and became a general manager. When Bobby Cox returned to the Braves in 1986, he was the general manager.
Reyes running, and the throw down not in time. His 29th of the season.
I think if Valentine wants more voice in the personnel decisions that the Mets make, they ought to give it to him. And that's why I said, from the way I look at things, is just one opinion, but his negotiating power is very, very strong.
Reyes in scoring position now for Feliciano. Well, and I know that it's discussed often here locally that the recent demise of the Mets is in large part due to failing health. And this is something that defenders of the current regime will cite often. The bad news continues even this week with Johan Santana now discovering through an MRI that there's a tear in the pitching shoulder. He'll have his 3rd surgery in as many seasons with the Mets. So with all the high-priced talent that's fallen, it certainly can't all go back on the regime. However, to your point, Tim, and I think this is discussed just as often, there was never a plan B put in place.
Good point.
2-2 now on Feliciano. And in a market this size, you know,
there are none bigger.
You don't get that break, right? You can't say, "Hey, we're hurt. Sorry, folks." Especially when you're trying to keep up with the pinstripes across the way. There's the 2-2 home, and Feliciano puts it in play for Utley. Reyes to third now with 2 gone.
I mean, the Phillies have had more injuries than the Mets have had this year. And look where the Phillies are, entering the game in first place, a game in front of the Braves.
Angel Pagan, the batter now. And he's got a runner at third with 2 away. Very good numbers with runners in scoring position. And Angel Pagan would have to be considered one of the positive stories in New York this year. And that, you just saw, folks, these secrets to Jamie Moyer's youth. Pagan on the first pitch sends a drive out to center for Shane Victorino to retire the side. A scoreless fifth hung by Kyle Kendrick. It's still 2-0 Mets. Fuel, prepare to win. By Verizon, the signal is yours. Wield it to transmit anything you want. Verizon. And by Chevrolet, every model is backed by a 100,000-mile, 5-year powertrain limited warranty. Well, your Verizon game summary as the Mets and Phillies pay tribute to the first responders from 9/11 prior to the game. Jose Reyes has hit a home run, his 9th of the year, making it a 2-0 score. Mike Pelfrey's been outstanding. 5 shutout innings, limiting what had been a hot Phillies lineup to just 3 hits so far this afternoon. Greg Dobbs is going to swing the bat off the bench, meaning the end of the line for Kyle Kendrick this afternoon. It'll be Dobbs, Victorino, and Polanco for Philadelphia. We talked about how the Phillies lineup was, in fact, hot. We've got Antonio Bastardo in the bullpen getting ready to work in the 6th. 4 straight is what the Phillies' winning streak was at the start of play. And in fact, it scored 7 runs, at least 7 runs throughout that span. You'd have to go back to May of 1980 to find the last time a Phillies team scored at least 7 in 5 straight. And unless they get real hot here in the last few innings, it looks like that 1980 mark might be safe. Dobbs with a swing and a miss. It's 2-2.
And as every Phillies fan knows, 1980, the first time that the Philadelphia Phillies won a world championship. What a team that was. And one of the great postseason series ever against the Houston Astros. 4 of the 5 games, it went 5 games, and in those days the National League Championship Series was decided by the best 3 out of 5. 4 of the 5 games went to extra innings, and it was a riveting postseason for the Phillies and their fans. Then they beat Kansas City in 6 to win their first world championship. Dobbs thought it was inside, and it wasn't.
So the pinch hitter is retired on strikes, and now Shane Victorino, who's 0 for 2 so far today. 2 runs on 5 hits and an error for the Mets. No runs on 3 hits for Philadelphia. Just 3 singles against Mike Pelfrey today thus far. Well, one of the 2 statistical trends that Pelfrey took into this start today, Tim, was going to have to buck. Great at home, but not so good in the afternoon. His day-night splits favor his pitching under the lights, the same way his home-road splits favor him starting here at Citi Field. So far, he's been able to harness the good stuff at home and pitch better here in the afternoon than he has all year.
What about a 4 o'clock start?
That's a good point. The shadow's working in his favor, right?
How is he in twilight?
I got to get on the right website for that.
In the gloaming.
Right. I'm sure somebody has quantified that somewhere.
Oh, I'll guarantee you.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Shane Victorino. To 2-2 now.
All the statistics in baseball that have been introduced over the years with the computer and everything, and you get the feeling that Charlie Manuel, the manager of the Phillies, would just like to chuck them all and just go out and play baseball.
And an easy chance for Josh Thole. Well, again, the 9-year anniversary of 9/11 today, and the Mets, as they have each year since 9/11, led a contingency, including today's starter Mike Pelfrey, in visiting FDNY Ladder 10, Engine 10, next to Ground Zero to thank the first responders, exchange gifts, and get a close look at the construction at Ground Zero. Mets have visited a different New York City firehouse every September since 9/11. Here's Placido Polanco now with 2 gone.
Famous Mike Piazza home run back when baseball resumed after 9/11, a week layoff. That Piazza home run that gave the cheering fans at Shea Stadium the chills. Mets took the lead, won that game.
And Mike went on to call that home run the only significant home run of his career. That's on the ground for Hernandez on a hop. And a 1-2-3 sixth by Mike Pelfrey. Still 2-0 Mets. Tigers and White Sox coverage begins at 4 Eastern. Check your local listings. Pennant Chase Baseball coming up next Saturday on Fox. Well, Kyle Kendrick done. And so is that lady by the looks of the hat. David Herndon is the new pitcher for the Phillies. He'll take over here in the 6th. Herndon gets David Wright to begin the home half of inning number 6. Making his 42nd appearance of the season is the young right-hander who prior to this season had never pitched above the Double-A level. And he starts David Wright with a swing and a miss. Wright, Davis, and Tolle here for New York. 2-0 Mets. Been just enough offense, and something of a theme in the season series between these two National League Eastern Division rivals. Closely played, low-scoring affairs.
It's always a fun time of year here in New York and a fun week. Yankees and the Mets playing, of course. Yankees in Texas, but the Mets playing at home. And then with, you mentioned in the opening, the tennis finals being played about a quarter of a mile from here. And then the Giants in their home opener tomorrow, the New York Giants, and then the New York Jets in their home opener on Monday Night Football. A lot happening here in the Big Apple.
Well, a good time to be a fan, certainly, with that new football stadium opening up. And we'll have that one as a part of the NFL on Sunday. Fox doubleheader tomorrow. 2-2 to David Wright, lined into left to base hit. Speaking of Atlanta and St. Louis on the DirecTV game break. 1-0 Atlanta here with 2 out and 1 on. Nate McLeod triples to right off Jake Westbrook. Martin Prado scores. And Atlanta has taken a 2-0 lead in the third of a 4-game series. Phillies have been outstanding since the end of August. The best record in Major League Baseball. The Braves have the best home record in the game. And if those two scores stay on par, we could have a dead heat back atop the NL East. David Herndon, we hardly knew you. With 3 straight left-handers scheduled, it's going to be Antonio Bastardo in from the bullpen. We'll be right back. Takes over here with a man aboard and nobody out in the 6th, trying to hold this a 2-0 deficit for the Phillies. Bastardo will pitch to 3 straight left-handed bats. It's Davis, then Tolle and Duda with a man aboard. 5 innings today from Kyle Kendrick, and it's rare that a start that abbreviated should come from a Philly starter. The 1-0 home, a check swing by Davis. Did he go around? No on the appeal. The Phillies bullpen, Tim, as we know, has thrown fewer innings than any National League bullpen this year. 365 if you're counting at home. And when you talk about Roy Halladay going deep into the night, of course, Roy Oswalt, Cole Hamels this year. Bullpen has not been taxed. And a base hit, lefty style for Ike Davis. Right to the next station.
A lot of times the outs dictate whether you take the next base or try to take the next base. With 1 out, I think David Wright tries to get to third base, but you cannot take a chance making the first out at third with an arm like Jason Worth in right field, even though you do have a 2-run lead. Big day for Ike Davis, 3 for 3.
The veteran Jose Contreras in the bullpen for the Phillies.
Yeah, I think your point's well taken until you get to September, Matt, and then you expand your bullpen. There are 11 pitchers for the Phillies in their bullpen now, instead of the 8 or 9 at times that they would carry during the season. So with the September call-ups, the start of one of them, you're going to use that left and right matchups, particularly after the 5th inning. We may see a bunt right here and then a pinch hitter for Duda.
So Charlie Manuel certainly wanting to be prepared for any of those scenarios. Josh Tolle, the batter, with 2 on and nobody out. You might have seen on that score bug a moment ago. Good news for Philly fans, as Albert Pujols has struck for a 2-run double to pull the Cardinals even with the Braves in the middle innings in Atlanta. Pujols now taking over the RBI lead in the National League. His 100 and 101st run batted in. Josh Thole hitless so far this afternoon, just 3 for 17 against left-handed pitching as he swings and misses.
Well, that's another reason that every Atlanta Braves fan that's watching this game is saying, how can he not be bunting here? I think if you're trying to win the game, the best way to win the game is to bunt with Thole right here. Of course, it's 0-2 now, but had he started that at the beginning of the at bat.
Ball and 2 strikes to him now.
But of course the Mets, I mean, you know, what they're doing here in September is different from what the Phillies are doing. The Phillies are trying to win at any expense. So are the Braves, but the Mets are trying to see if a guy like Thole can hit a left-hander.
2 balls and 2 strikes. You know, based on the way Josh Thole chokes up on the bat, he's either trying to impersonate Luis Castillo or he's trying to slap it through a hole someplace.
He's going to hit the ball to left field if he puts the ball in play.
He is almost a quarter of the way up the bottom of that shillelagh. A swing and a miss. So the man with the Campy-Campaneris grip strikes out, and there's 1 gone in the 6th.
That's a good one. I like that. Campy-Campaneris grip. Try saying that 10 times straight.
That's it for me. So 1 gone, and now we're going to have a pinch hitter. As Tim mentioned, plenty of chess pieces to use this time of year with September roster expansion, and it's going to be Joaquin Arias who'll get the opportunity. He was the player acquired from the Texas Rangers when Jeff Francoeur was sent to the AL West.
Trainer talking to Mike Pelfrey as Charlie Manuel makes another trip to the mound, and the September games are always longer as a result. More moves made.
So the move, a counter move as Charlie Manuel comes out to get his pitcher. Here comes Jose Contreras, and we'll be right back. Pujols doubled in the tying runs in Atlanta. Here's how it looked like against Tommy Hanson. Brendan Ryan and Skip Schumacher score. 101 runs batted in for King Albert, and it's a tie game in Atlanta. Meanwhile, back here in Flushing, a 2-0 lead for the Mets. New York threatening for more. And Charlie Manuel has made yet another pitching change. This will be his third pitcher of the inning, Jose Contreras, to try to neutralize a threat. And Joaquin Arias removed for pinch hitter Chris Carter. So the wheel certainly in motion here as these rosters are being exercised in the middle innings. Just a note on the Pujols RBI double, by the way, giving him a league-leading total of 101. That is 10 consecutive seasons to begin his career of at least 100 runs batted in. Ties Hall of Famer Al Simmons for the most in Major League history. Two balls and no strikes from Contreras. Luis Hernandez waiting on deck, a switch hitter next, so maybe we won't have to see a change for that plate appearance.
Well, Chris Carter of the Mets is their best pinch hitter. He has 13 pinch hits. That's third in the major league. And he can hit. Finding a position for him to play is the biggest problem.
Right at second, Davis the runner at first with one gone. Oh, just missing the corner that time. 3 balls and a strike down to Chris Carter. Good numbers off the bench, as you can see. 7 runs driven in, batting .289 as a pinch hitter, to Tim's point. And again, Wright and Davis aboard with only 1 away. Phillies trying to keep this at a 2-run hole. The 3-1. In the air into the left field corner. Does Ibanez have a play? He will not. You know, not only, Tim, do we talk about Albert Pujols in the string of consecutive 100 RBI seasons to begin his career, but we're talking about perhaps the first National League Triple Crown since Ducky Medwick in 1937. Not only for Albert Pujols, but there's a handful of players in that discussion. It's a good one. We'll talk about that in a moment. The count has gone full to Chris Carter here with runners at first and second.
I don't think you send the runners in this situation because that splitter just out of the strike zone.
Ball 4.
And they were staying, and I think that's the right move from Jerry Manuel, and that loads him up with a 1 out.
All right, not a lot of wiggle room. It'll be Luis Hernandez, 0 for 2 so far this afternoon. Pitcher spot due up next. There'll be a pinch runner inserted at first.
It's like Nick Adams. Or Nick Evans, I beg your pardon.
Evans running at first for Carter.
So you had Contreras in to pitch to Arias. Pinch hitter was Carter, now pinch runner. 4 guys used in 1 spot. September baseball.
Almost feels like we're in St. Lucie for a Grapefruit League game today.
Right, a B game at 10 in the morning.
The bases loaded situations have not paid off nearly as often as Jerry Manuel would like them to. A league low 205 with the sacks full. Popped him up. Little jam shot out to shallow right. Worth is coming hard to make the catch. Tagging up is right. The throw to the plate is in time to get him.
What a play by Schneider. Wow. The throw was a skidder. This is the toughest type throw to make a catch with a catcher's mitt. Hung on to by Schneider to get right.
Boy, the ground just ate up Wright's throw, or Worth's throw, rather. Not to worry, we'll return after word from your local Fox station. His throw enabling a play at the plate to take place. Keeps it a 2-0 lead for the Mets. New York looked like they had a golden opportunity to pad that advantage. Not so. So the left fielder is Nick Evans, stays in the ballgame after pinch running, taking over for Lucas Duda. And it's 0-1 on Chase Utley, who has a single today. One of the 3 singles by the Phillies. And that's it. Mike Pelfrey has been as stingy as ever here this afternoon at home. And that one hits him. For the first time this afternoon, the Phillies have their leadoff hitter aboard.
Chase Utley gets hit a lot because he stands on top of the plate. And speaking of on top of the plate, that throw by Jason Worth was such a good throw. A worthy tag by David Wright. I think the best play made by anybody was by Brian Schneider. The problem with fielding a ball coming from that direction is you don't know where the runner is. And the runner, David Wright, almost made contact about the time Jason Worth was celebrating in shallow center.
That ball almost looked like it was thrown into a sand trap. Ryan Howard lines into the shift. Utley very heads up and back at first base. And that's the second time this afternoon, Tim, that the shift has cost Ryan Howard a base hit.
Similar plays. A line drive earlier where he reached down. And now second baseman Luis Hernandez going to his right to make a good play. A sand trap. It did kind of look like you needed a wedge to field that ball instead of a catcher's mitt.
And I know what that feels like, by the way. One gone here for Jason Worth now.
You mean the wedge, not catching?
No, I know what it feels like to hit it into sand.
Yeah, that's I do too.
Worth with a runner aboard and one gone.
Not get out to get in.
Jason is hitless today. He's reached on a fielder's choice and reached on an error. Boy, Mike Pelfrey has been a one-man wrecking crew at home against the Phillies. Cooled off a lineup that had scored at least 7 runs in 4 straight. Raul Ibanez is waiting next. Braves and Cardinals in a 2-2 tie in the 7th in Atlanta. Big swing and a miss, 1-2.
That is that splitter that was developed by Pelfrey this spring, and it gave him the potential to be a much better pitcher. Dan Warden telling me earlier in the year that it's not the real splitter that goes down, but it takes about 8 to 10 miles an hour off that pitch. Another one.
J.C. Romero up now for the Phillies.
Texas Rangers used 11 pitchers last night in 13 innings against the Yankees. Game won 6-5 by the Rangers. That, by the way, tied a major league mark of most pitchers used in a game of any length.
The virtues of September roster expansion.
Yes,
right?
sir. Right.
If they're taking up all that room in the clubhouse, might as well run them into the box.
Sure.
Worth is jammed. He hits a 2-hopper to right, who shovels to Hernandez. The relay not in time.
Sometimes as an infielder, you're in a position where you don't know whether to overhand it, sidearm it, or throw it underhanded. David Wright threw it underhanded, and Worth was safe at first base. Very close.
Put the landing gear down, JW. There's Raul Ibanez now with a man aboard. Ibanez has a single today as well.
Flaps down, huh?
The flaps down. In the spirit of Jeffrey Leonard, the flaps are down for Jason Worth.
Both flaps down. Jeffrey used to hit a home run and put one flap down back in the late 80s for the Giants. Didn't endear him to too many pitchers.
Into the opposite field and a base hit for Raul Ibanez. Cue shot off the end of the bat. And now Brian Schneider has an opportunity with 2 runners aboard as we take another look. We're going to have Dan Warden come out and make his first visit this afternoon as the Mets pitching coach makes an entrance. Boy, this would be a much bigger threat had the Mets not employed a successful shift against Ryan Howard. It cut off a base hit in the 2nd and did the same thing here in the 7th, Tim.
Got to be aggravating to a guy like Ryan, and as we mentioned earlier, Joe Madden, the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, employs the shift on guys that you would not normally employ them to get into their head a little bit. In fact, they do it to one of the Rays. That's Carlos Pena.
Here is Brian Schneider now. The ex-Met has a single today. Schneider making just his 35th start of the season. He too has spent some time on the disabled list this year, giving Carlos Ruiz a blow in a day game after a night game. And it's Worth and Ibanez he's trying to pick up with 2 gone in the 7th. It's a 2-0 now. And the veteran right-hander Elmer Descends is up in the pen behind Pelfrey. Popped him up. A trio of Mets converge. It's Angel Pagan that makes the catch, and 2 are left stranded in the Philadelphia 7th. Seventh inning stretch, 2-0 Mets as we stay right here for the singing of God Bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your caps for the singing of our God Bless America song. Please welcome back Regina Wilson of the FDNY as we honor all the heroic men and women who keep our nation safe and free.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Sponsored by the new 2011 Lexus IS Wheeled Precision and by Progressive, making insurance better. And by One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball, specially formulated for men. Oh, enjoy a coffee in Times Square, why don't you?
Why not?
Pull up a chair and join us. Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian. It's been a good one so far this afternoon. Not unlike Met-Phillies games this season involving Mike Pelfrey.
And shutouts.
A low-scoring shutout affair so far. 2-0 Mets as Chad Durbin heats up in the bullpen behind Jose Contreras. Contreras is the fourth Philly used by Charlie Manuel this afternoon to try to keep this a manageable deficit. It'll be Pelfrey, then the top of the order, Reyes and Feliciano. Mike Pelfrey has one of New York's 7 hits today. A leadoff single that came back in the 5th. And still a ball and 2 strikes.
In September, I've always laughed, Matt, when that question that everybody asked of players on contenders is, do you watch the scoreboard? Do you watch and see? Well, of course you watch the scoreboard.
Atlanta's taken the lead over St. Louis as we watch our scoreboard. San Diego trying to close out the Giants as Pelfrey swings and misses.
It's almost like a broker not watching the ticker at 1:30 in the afternoon. I mean, brokers are glued to it, and so are players. I mean, it never affects the play of the players. But, I mean, for all the players who say they don't watch the scoreboard, they're simply not telling the truth.
Jose Reyes now with one gone. It was the Reyes home run in the third that made it 2-0 New York. And for Mets fans, a good number in that when Jose Reyes scores a run, as he most certainly did after hitting a home run, New York is 38-18 this season. Let's take you back to the third against Kyle Kendrick. The 26th allowed by Kendrick made it a 2-0 score, one that still stands. Off the plate to make it a ball and 2 strikes. Jesus Feliciano waits on deck. 2-0 Mets here late. See, Schneider wants that on the corner. It's well off the plate, and it's 2-2 now. So a home run, a stolen base. He's played well defensively and has put an exclamation point on how important he is to this Mets lineup. And that's slashed out of play. Yet still, Tim, there is a lot of disappointment in the fan base over Jose Reyes. His defenders say, what exactly do you want the guy to do? He's been hurt all year, and he's one of the most dynamic players in the game. His critics call for him to be more of a leader. And the 2-2 pitch to him is hit on the ground to first.
Good play.
A great play to get a very fast runner. We'll continue talking Reyes a little later. But first, time for a DirecTV game break. This is how the Braves reclaim the lead. Jason Hayward padding his Rookie of the Year candidacy with a solo shot against Dennis Reyes to make it 3-2 Atlanta. Well, we could very well be looking at a dead heat atop the NL East at the close of play again today, Tim.
Well, to answer your question, in fairness, I think you could be a defender of Reyes and a critic. I mean, from a critic standpoint, I don't think you can make a guy into a leader who doesn't have leadership qualities. I don't think Jose Reyes has leadership qualities. I'm not saying he's necessarily a follower, but I think you can take issue with both the defenders and the critics of Jose. He is a dynamic player. I mean, arguably, so goes Reyes, so goes the Mets. More than any other team's leadoff hitter. Arguably.
1-1 pitch to Feliciano's low. 2 balls and a strike now. Angel Pagan waiting next for New York. Base is empty. 2 gone here in the home 7th. Into left center field, and Feliciano fades a base hit, his second of the contest. Chevrolet honors the spirit of the community supporting the 2010 Roberto Clemente Award. Cast your vote for one of this year's nominees at Chevy.com/Clemente, and you could win a trip to the World Series to see the on-the-field announcement of the national winner. Phillies nominee is Shane Victorino, and for the Mets, the man at the plate, Angel Pagan. For those unfamiliar, the Clemente Award honors the outstanding player for meritorious service to the community. Pagan's got a base hit. That sets up in front of Ibanez, and Feliciano gets to third. Throw to second, not in time on Pagan.
It was a tough hop for Raul Ibanez. That in-between hop kind of ate him up. It'll probably go as an error, however, because certainly Feliciano doesn't go to third, and Pagan does not go to second base.
They are charging an error on that play, as you guessed, Tim. A base hit and an E7. It's David Wright now, and they're not going to mess with him. Bobby Parnell in the bullpen. We saw J.C. Romero hot in the bullpen for the Phillies a moment ago, and if you're going to do a little speculating and advancing on your lineup card, you got the left-handed hitting Ike Davis next, and a likely change for Romero here with the bases loaded after this intentional pass is issued.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Romero will be in there. The interesting thing is, why is Parnell warming up, since Pelfrey led off the inning by staying in the game, of course.
So with the bases loaded and 2 gone, and the Phillies trying to stay behind by only 2, another pitching change. We'll be right back. Rays close out the San Francisco Giants to re-distance themselves by 1 game in the NL West. Here in New York, it's been Mike Pelfrey doing it to the Phillies yet again in what's been a season filled with good performances against the Phils. None better than this afternoon, Tim.
He has been terrific. Helped by double plays, good defense by the Mets. The best of the 4-6-3 double plays, and he's made the pitches when he needed to.
And Mike Pelfrey watching with interest to see if his Mets can pad his 2-0 lead. The bases are loaded here for the rookie left-handed first baseman Ike Davis. For this plate appearance, Charlie Manuel goes to his bullpen. Feliciano, Pagan, and Wright aboard with 2 gone in the 7th. J.C. Romero in out of the Philly bullpen. Lefties hitting under 200 against Romero. This season, he has been historically tough against left-handed bats.
Guy with a rejuvenated career, released by the Boston Red Sox 3 years ago and signed by the Phillies, and when he has been healthy, he has been very, very good and a key guy in that Philly bullpen.
So for those of you who are joining us from the Giants and Padres, we'll have you until the top of the hour for this bonus coverage. Another game in progress with big-time playoff implications. That's Atlanta hosting St. Louis. The Jason Hayward home run, redistancing Atlanta by a run. That's in the last of the 7th. 2 gone with the bases loaded. The 2-0 from Romero misses down and away. 3 balls and no strikes. Josh Thole waiting on deck for New York. And the 3-0. 3 balls and a strike now.
What every hitter, rookie or veteran, looks for. Bases loaded, a 3-1 count. Looking for a cookie right down the heart of the plate.
Here's Romero's 3-1. On the ground and up the middle through. Feliciano scores. Here's Pagan. And after a couple foiled attempts at padding their lead, New York cashes in against the Phillies bullpen here in the 7th.
It's a good example of when a pitcher falls behind, could not find the plate for the first 3, and then the 3-1 fastball, and now the 4th hit of the afternoon for Ike Davis, driving in 2. 1 run scores easily. The runner from second less easily, and the Mets match their total with 1 more hit from Ike Davis. What a day.
And now Josh Thole with 2 runs in, 2 out, and 2 on. 2 of Ike Davis's hits this afternoon, Tim, have come against left-handed pitching.
Right.
And for the season, he's hitting better than 300 as Davis against southpaws. 1-1 the count to Josh Thole here.
Well, what that means when you read a statistic like that is it means he's keeping his front shoulder in against left-handers. Releases it on contact. A left-handed hitter can't hit a left-handed pitcher unless he keeps his front shoulder in.
That's going to be trouble. Tough chance for Utley. His bare hand attempt doesn't get it done, and the bases are reloaded on Thole's infield single.
And the reason Thole got an infield hit was that Romero was falling toward the third base side as he released the ball, couldn't recover in time to make the play. So Utley has to try to make the play and barehand it and can't. You can see Romero's momentum's taking him toward third, tries to backhand it, and Utley can't field it cleanly.
Well, Charlie's wearing a track between this spot in the visitors' dugout and the pitcher's mound today. He will make his 5th change of the afternoon.
Not a pretty pass.
Enter Chad Durbin, and we'll be right back. conversion, another pitching change for the Philadelphia Phillies, and quite the mess inherited by veteran right-hander Chad Durbin. Another bases-loaded threat here for New York. As David Wright's at third, Ike Davis and his heroics at second, and Josh Tolley's the runner at first. Nick Evans will make his first plate appearance after getting into this one as many of the non-starters. Something of a theme has been both managers, the manuals if you will, using their September flexed rosters to its capacity. And here's Nick Evans now with the bases loaded. He takes a pitch high, a ball and no strikes.
How about the way that Giant game ended? A 1-0 game ended with a strike him out, throw him out. How many times do you see a strike him out, throw him out in the ball game? Particularly a one-run game. Of course, it would have to be a one-run game, I guess. Otherwise, the runner from first isn't running.
And why not? In a season like this one, where we saw a game earlier this week decided on a steal of home. Eric Young Jr. stealing home to finish off the Cincinnati Reds earlier this week.
How bizarre was that?
That ends on a stolen base of home plate, no less. We see that Giants-Padres game today, to your point, end on a strike him out, throw him out, double play. Really some fantastic finishes in pennant implication games.
And they seem to come in September in bunches. I remember the Chico Ruiz steal of home with Frank Robinson hitting in the 14th inning back in 1964 that Philly fans will never forget. The last 10 days of the season. That's when the Phillies had the 6.5 game lead with 12 to play. Cardinals and Reds had 13 to play. Cardinals won it on the last day of the season. And I certainly was happy.
And I beg your pardon, it was Chris Nelson that stole home for the Rockies during the week. There is called strike 3. And with that, the Phillies finally get out of the frame. 2 more for the Mets, however. With plate 7, it's 4-0 New York. Those numbers would indicate 7 shutout innings. He has limited what was a very hot Phillies lineup to just 4 singles this afternoon. This was a Phillies team who, en route to winning 4 straight, had scored 7 or more in all 4 of those contests. Completely shut down so far this afternoon. Wilson Valdez leads off the visitors' 8th. It'll be Valdez followed by the pitcher spot. And then the top of the order, Shane Victorino. You got Ross Glode on deck to bat next for Philadelphia.
Valdez will take here after taking 1-0. Pretty easy.
Mike Pelfrey has been efficient this afternoon as he saws off Valdez and makes it 2-2.
I remember a comment by Joe Madden, the manager of the Rays, who has a lot of refreshing things to say and different ways of putting things. He said maple bats are the Claymore mines of baseball. I mean, have you ever seen more bats shattered over the last 2 or 3 years than we're seeing? I mean, it's just, and they're shattered in a different way as Valdez is down on strikes. Another strikeout for Pelfrey.
His 5th of the afternoon, and it comes looking to open the 8th. So now the pinch hitter, Ross Glode. Another left-hander, Mike Zagurski's up in the bullpen for the Phillies. You know, Tim, to your point regarding the shattered bats, as Glode digs in, the league tried to get that under control prior to the season. As you take a look at Pelfrey's afternoon, and they'll tell you that they've had some success. There have been fewer breaks, but when they do break, it looks like a violent break that really could lead somebody to get hurt.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there's a more stringent testing process now on the maple bat, but you do see an awful lot of them still. Ball and 2 strikes with Shane Victorino waiting on deck.
Bats used to splinter. Now they shatter.
So over 100 pitches now for Mike Pelfrey, and that means that bullpen is not only up but hot. Bobby Parnell's been up. He's thrown like a Sparky Anderson style bullpen complete game down there already. Glode fouls that one back. We've seen him up for much of the afternoon. And Pedro Feliciano also up out there.
Sparky's nickname used to be Captain Hook, and he hooked a lot of pitchers in his day. What a great manager, Hall of Famer, and a great guy to go along with it. George Sparky Anderson, manager during the Big Red Machine Cincinnati Red days. And then he won a world championship in 1984 with Detroit.
2 balls and 2 strikes on the pinch hitter, Ross Glode. That's whacked into right center field. And the Phillies' first extra base hit of the afternoon. Ross Glode off the bench with a 1-out double here in the 8th. Time for a DirecTV game break. Many of you saw this happen live. He fell on the mound, a runner aboard. Top of the 9th, San Diego trying to get into the clubhouse, 1-0 winners, and it's on a strike him out, throw him out, double play that the Padres take their first in this 4-game series with the Giants. An exciting finish and one that gives San Diego a 1-game advantage again in that tightly contested National League West. Earlier today, the Rays blasted the Blue Jays. They're down only a game in the AL East. And the Cardinals have evened things up in Atlanta. Now 3-3 in the 8th. A runner in scoring position now for Shane Victorino.
And the only reason that Mike Pelfrey is not out of the game is because Shane Victorino has such paltry numbers against right-handed pitching this year. Right around 235, 0 for 3 today. That's why Jerry Manuel has not made the move to the bullpen. But you may see it regardless of what Victorino does with Polanco coming up.
Polanco's been held hitless so far today. Parnell and Feliciano both ready to go if needed. Only one gone here in the 8th. Glowed off second. And a base hit for Victorino. We're going to wave Glowed around to score, and there goes Mike Pelfrey's shutout. The Phillies are on the board. It's 4-1 Mets, and that's going to be all for the New York starter this afternoon. It looks like we'll be right back. Parnell takes over on the mound for New York. The Phillies finally on the board against Mike Pelfrey here in the 8th. The runner aboard is Pelfrey's responsibility, so a partially closed line of 7 1/3. 6 hits, 1 earned run. Did not walk a batter. Pelfrey threw the ball very well this afternoon. Bobby Parnell for the 38th time this year, and trying to cut this at just a run. Polanco lines it past Hernandez into right. Going to be a play at second, but the throw gets away from Reyes.
That's a tough base running play for Victorino. The reason was it was a line drive hit to the left of Hernandez, who just missed it. And Feliciano picking up on that ball, and had Reyes held on, he's out at second base. It's a tough play for Victorino. Phillies get away with it. Now the tying run is up to the plate, the person of Chase Utley.
And we will have another change as Jerry Manuel wants his left-hander for Utley. So Bobby Parnell faces a batter and loses him to a base hit. Tying run stepping up. We'll step aside and be right back. Get your streak started today and win yourself a hat or some cash at foxsports.com/fantasy. Might even be able to win a rubberized Mets Lucha Libre mask. Pedro Feliciano takes over on the mound for New York, and he's facing Chase Utley as the potential tying run. The Phillies have come back to make this an interesting affair. Mike Pelfrey sticking around to watch the outcome. Only one away. Utley has homered twice against Feliciano. Homered yesterday, and is swinging a hot bat. He's got Victorino and Polanco aboard with a run in. Feliciano starts him with a strike. And that Mets bullpen continues to warm.
Yeah, Costa's warming for Jason Worth. Phillies vulnerable here with back-to-back left-handed hitters, even though they're part of the cream of the crop. Ryan Madson warming for the Phillies.
Feliciano catches the corner, and now Utley behind 0-2. Ryan Howard waiting next. He has been held hitless today, largely due to the shift that the Mets have employed all afternoon. The veteran left-hander set. Over 100 pitches for Mike Pelfrey. One of the two runners aboard, still his responsibility. And that's the one, Shane Victorino. Polanco at first. And Utley just gets a piece to stay alive. Pedro Feliciano seems to be the Mets' preferred weapon in trying to deal with Chase Utley. In fact, the only other pitcher in the National League to face Chase Utley more often than Pedro Feliciano is Tim Hudson, who, as we know, is a starting pitcher. See Feliciano shake off totally once. Utley puts it in play for the second baseman, Hernandez. Base runners will advance, each moving into scoring position now. Runners at second and third for Ryan Howard. All right, well, the big fella hitless so far. 0 for 3 today.
You know, Matt, right here, I don't think I employ the same shift that the Mets employed against right-handed pitching, and they're not, because David Wright at third base is staying a little bit more toward the position. And the reason for that is that left-handed hitters have a tendency to hit Feliciano to left field and not pulling. He's very difficult to pull if you're a left-handed batter, even though you may be a pull hitter against right-handers.
Howard lays off the first pitch. Victorino and Polanco both in scoring position here with the Phillies down 3. Still see Luis Hernandez out there in that beer league rover position. That's dumped into shallow center, a base hit. Victorino scores. Here's Polanco right on his heels, and it's a 1-run ball game.
It's a game, isn't it? Breaking ball to Utley. He moves the runners along because the ball's not hit hard enough. So he moves them both into scoring position. And now Howard, who is lined out twice to the second baseman, gets jammed. Feliciano does what he wants to do, and Howard gets a hit. Goofy game sometimes.
Boy, and such a satisfying look on the face of Ryan Howard after being robbed on a couple of surefire base hits due to the shift. It's a jam shot that gives him his first bit of success. Well, that's going to be all for Feliciano. And all of a sudden, Pelfrey's decision not so rosy looking with the tying run aboard and 2 gone. Philadelphia, the Titans have made this interesting, scoring 3 against the bullpen in the 8th. And it's just a 1-run lead for the Mets. Jason Worth faces Acosta with a man aboard. Worth hitless today. Reached on an error in his first plate appearance. He's got Ryan Howard at first. And 2 gone here in the top of the 8th. And a good slider with a swing and a miss by Worth makes it 1-1.
Now the worst inning Acosta has had all year, about a week ago, against who else? The Atlanta Braves, when he gave up 3 in the 3rd inning.
Manny Acosta, former Braves property, was claimed off waivers by the Braves, from the Braves roster rather, prior to the season. And he's out in front of Jason Worth, the ball and 2 strikes. Challenged him with a high fastball. Worth couldn't lay off. 96 miles an hour at the eyes. Mike Pelfrey and the Mets still lead it by a run. Odor Shield Antiperspirant. Help eliminate odor. Don't just cover it up. By Dairy Queen. And by Warner Brothers Pictures, The Town, in theaters everywhere September 17th. It's been quite a list of Philly relievers entering the box score here this afternoon at Citi Field, and Ryan Madson will be the 7th. Madson has been terrific of late. He pitched a scoreless inning last night and, in fact, has not allowed an earned run over his last 12 appearances, covering 11 2/3 innings. So get Luis Hernandez to start things. It'll be Hernandez followed by the pitcher spot, and then Jose Reyes will have a pinch hitter next, as Carlos Beltran has grabbed a bat off the bench. A 4-3 ball game. Phillies getting all three in one chunk in the last half inning to make this a one-run affair late. Back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian. Great to have you with us on Fox Saturday Baseball. Pennant chase coverage all around. We watched it live earlier. Many of you, as the San Diego Padres hung on to defeat the Giants. A 1-0 ball game, Tim, and in fact, there have been 50 1-0 games this season, and that's the most since 1992.
19 years since baseball has had as many 1-0 games. This was back-to-back variety. Giants last night, Padres today.
It has been turned into a pitching and defense themed league, and especially down the pennant drive here, as that one misses in the dirt to Hernandez. 1-0 San Diego, and for those that might have missed the finish, it ended on a strike him out, throw him out double play. And check that total. That one is the 51st, so more impressive still. In close, Ryan Madson wants the appeal. No swing.
I mean, you could make a point that pitching has not dominated the game since 1968 like it has this year. That was the year, of course, when Gibson had the 1.12 ERA. Juan Marichal 126 with 30 complete games that year.
And there's ball 4 to Luis Hernandez.
Denny McClain 131 for the Tigers. Wolich had a good year. And the next year they lowered the mound by 5 inches. He's up there to bunt. Beltran back. Jared Manuel understandably not wasting Beltran's bat here to have him bunt. So clearly, even with 2 strikes, Castillo up there to bunt.
It is Luis Castillo off the bench. Perhaps Carlos Beltran will play a role later on. Reyes next. Madson will work out of the stretch with the runner on. Castillo shows bunt and pushes it foul. Jose Reyes has homered in this ballgame. His 9th of the year, came back in the 3rd. Mets have never trailed. And Castillo gets the bunt down. Madson had a shot at the lead runner. He plays it safe and goes to first. So the sacrifice works.
Boy, that was ultra safe right there. This ball is bunted hard back to Madson. Now, Hernandez did have a good break from first base, but Madson clearly had a shot. I mean, Hernandez is about halfway down there. And Ryan didn't want to take a chance, but that's where safety first cost him.
A reminder, tomorrow the NFL regular season kicks off with a doubleheader on Fox, beginning with the Panthers battling the Giants at the new Meadowlands. Some will see the Falcons and Steelers. Then Aaron Rodgers and the Packers take on Kevin Kolb and the Eagles. Coverage begins tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, with the Ford Fox NFL pregame show. Check local listings for the games in your area. Well, that insurance run is now in scoring position with 1 gone for Jose Reyes. keeping our eyes on that Cardinals-Braves game. They're going to the bottom of the 9th inning, tied in Atlanta.
That game, of course, a bit of interest to fine folks in Philadelphia.
Well, Atlanta had their 99-day run atop the NL East snapped when the Phillies took over the top spot earlier this week. The Phillies with another one of their late season pushes. There is a lot of business yet to be determined in the National League. Earlier today, the San Diego Padres beat the Giants, so San Diego back up a game in the West. The wild card is still in a state of flux. Colorado's been red hot. You see Hisanori Takahashi up in the bullpen for New York. He has been Jerry Manuel's closer here down the stretch. Reyes draws the walk. And now it's Jesus Feliciano. Hernandez and Reyes aboard. Jesus Feliciano's been on base in 3 of his 4 plate appearances today.
Ubaldo Jimenez going for the Rockies tonight. 18-6 on the year. Possible Cy Young Award candidate. For the Rockies, who have won 8 in a row, playing against a hapless Arizona team with Jimenez on the mound. Of course, Jimenez, after that 15-1 start, has not been up to snuff in his last 8 decisions. He's lost 5 out of 8.
It is a terrific field for the National League Cy Young Award. I think after April and May, we were talking about it, a 2-horse race between Halladay and Jimenez, but there have been others that have pitched their way right into this equation, Tim.
Yeah, and earlier you thought maybe Adam Wainwright, maybe Chris Carpenter of the Cardinals. Now I guess Roy Halladay has to be the front runner by a smidgen.
Into center field, Victorino coming on to make the catch, and they're going to have Hernandez doubled off at second. That's the second time this afternoon that the Mets have run themselves right out of an inning and right into an inning-ending double play.
Well, there's only one thing you can say about Hernandez on that play. He had a good jump.
Through 8, Mets by a run. A lifelong Cincinnati resident who also worked countless events locally, helping to document great sports moments in the Queen City for several decades. Mark Wagner, one of the nicest people in this business or any other, was 54.
You got that right. I got a call from Tom Brenneman last Sunday morning telling me about Mark's death. What a sweetheart.
Old Daddy Wags, we'll miss him.
Yep.
We go to the top of the ninth inning here this afternoon, turning to evening. And it's the Mets' new closer, at least to ride out the rest of the 2010 season, Isanori Takahashi, who takes over in the ninth. Since inheriting the closer's role for the much-maligned K-Rod, Takahashi has been terrific. Saves in all 5 chances. He's earned a win along the way. He gets Raul Ibanez in the ninth. 10 1/3 innings. He struck out 9 and walked 2. And even Takahashi himself, through the help of an interpreter, has told the media recently, I know I don't throw hard enough to be a true closer. He's a guy with mid to high 80s stuff, but he has been successful in that role.
He's deceptive. What he lacks in speed, he's deceptive with his leg kick. Funny how some pitchers can make a hitter think that he's throwing harder than he is. That little hesitation with the right foot there can make a hitter commit too early. And that's the worst thing. We talked about it earlier with Ryan Howard and his sprained ankle, the left sprain, keeping him from committing too early.
Ibanez sends one to left. Sliding is Nick Evans to make a fine catch for out number 1.
That was a good play because the Mets outfield was in their no doubles defense, which meant that they were playing deeper than they normally would. So Evans, instead of catching it chest high, catches it ankle high. Nice play.
So now a pinch hitter, as the veteran Mike Sweeney will grab a bat and have an opportunity. 3 for 13 as a pinch hitter this season. He came over to the Phillies in early August from Seattle in exchange for a player to be named later and cash considerations. It's been something of an injury plague campaign for the veteran right-handed hitter. 2 separate stints on the DL this year with back trouble. And he's got a 1-out opportunity here in the top of the ninth. Takahashi misses with an 89-mile-an-hour fastball to fall behind 1-0. Wilson Valdez next, hitless this afternoon. To 1-1 on Sweeney now. Not too many eyeballs in the home dugout looking at the scoreboard, but certainly plenty in the visiting dugout paying attention to the Cardinals and Braves, who are in the bottom of the ninth, still tied at 3. Swing and a drive, well hit to left. Evans is at the track. He looks up and it's off the wall. Sweeney on his way to second, representing the tying run in the top of the ninth.
Sweeney has never played in the postseason, and there is nobody in the Phillies uniform who would appreciate that any more than Sweeney. And here he does something to help his cause to get there with a double in this 1-run ball game. He'll be pinch run for. He just makes it to second base.
John Mayberry Jr. will pinch run for him, and he represents the tying strike in scoring position now. Wilson Valdez has a chance with only 1 away.
Now, if you're interested, the no doubles defense is off. Now the Mets are in their no singles defense. And I'm saying that kind of as a fun thing, but they are. With with nobody on second now, obviously they come in a little more. So if Valdez does get a hit, then one of the outfielders could have a chance for a play at the plate is Carlos Ruiz. Comes to the on-deck circle.
They're going to the top of the 10th inning in Atlanta, as you can see. But the Phillies would love to force that same fate here on the road this afternoon. Wilson Valdez 1 for 3 this season against Hisanori Takahashi. Drops a strike right over to make it 2-1. Carlos Ruiz on deck. That's a weapon that Charlie Manuel may not have had off the bench given a normal night, but Ruiz a non-starter, day game after night game. So he's got one of his better performers available here late. Swing and a miss, 2-2. Good changeup by Takahashi.
So after a 2-0 changeup and a 2-1 changeup, Valdez will probably get a fastball to hit here. It's always good for a pitcher to follow up an off-speed pitch with a fastball, because when you throw the off-speed pitch, you've slowed the bat up.
See him shake off Josh Tolley once. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Valdez. On the ground to the right side of the infield. Davis to his pitcher, and they just do get the out at the bag. So that tying run moves up 90 feet, but there are now 2 away here in the 9th, and the Phillies are down to their final chance.
That was a good play by Takahashi, because Valdez almost knocked the ball out of his glove. When he hits first base, so does Takahashi. No, he had it in his bare hand. Actually, it's a good thing he had it in his bare hand. Otherwise, the ball could have come out of the glove, because Valdez made contact with Takahashi.
And now Dan Warden wants to chat with his reliever. It reminds us to remind you, Fox tonight, 2 unforgettable season premieres in one night. First, the premiere of Cops, so shocking it'll make you afraid of the dark. Then John Walsh is at Ground Zero with updates on the terrorists still at large on America's Most Wanted. Season premieres tonight. They all start at 8, 7 Central right here on Fox.
In Philadelphia, America's Most Wanted is a win. A W.
Carlos Ruiz, his struggles against the Mets well documented, as you just saw, and this year has been no exception. Just a 179 career hitter in this ballpark. And he's the guy with the final chance for Philadelphia here, down a run. Oh, 1. On the ground to third. And the Mets hang on tonight. 4-3 the final. We'll return to New York for more postgame coverage right after these messages.